Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining Candid Convo with Chris. Our is, one thing, when y'all get to know me, I don't like to be black and late at the same time. So thank you so much. I'm about to throw this computer out the window. I am being joined by some great men this evening. Thank you guys for coming in. So I've got Eric. He's an entrepreneur. Is a man about his money. So I'm really glad to have him here. And you all know Sean, you know Onu, and Bronsberg. He's going to be joining us for a little while. Let's get into it. So, right now, a lot of people we're talking about like dating with intention, dating with a purpose, and dating to find your mate. Sean is divorced and he's got a family, and then you have Onu, I think might be one of my younger guests tonight, and he is another one that's every man on the money, and he is a resident, not yet a doctor. He loves to correct me, but we like to call him Dr. Amadi. Um, and Brosberg, he is that tough New Yorker that just tells it like it is.
Yeah. I'm trying to be a gentle New Yorker tonight. You understand?
Okay.
Just keeping the accent. I'm just
okay. But to me, I'm like Bronsberg. You among your fellow men. So, so you want to be a gentle New Yorker tonight? That's fine with me.
Maybe.
I actually want to get into my first question is about respect. So Sean has said so many times, and us ladies, we want to be respected as well. But men, what I want you to define respect for me when it comes to dating, because there's respect in dating, respect in relationships, and then respect in marriage. Is it all the same thing? How do you define that respect factor? I want to start. You know what? I'm going to start with Onu.
Okay. Wow. That was. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're a little low, but I can hear you.
Okay. So that was an interesting question. Number one, Socrates. I am a doctor. I'm a resident.
Good.
I don't like being called a doctor off the clock, but hey, I'll let it slide for today. But very interesting question. Like I think when it comes to dating, guess being in a relationship and being in marriage, what respect is. Is that what your question was?
Yes. Is it a difference between dating and when you're getting to know someone, when you're qualifying them, and then dating in a marriage? Or sorry, respect in a marriage?
Yes, I think expectation. I think yes, there's difference. There's a difference, but at the same time, it kind of boils down to what you accept at the core. I think decorum matters, like being on time, being punctual matters. Manners do matter. Like how do you present yourself, especially when you might not be in the right or in the wrong. Where you're looking for sympathy, looking for forgiveness. That part matters. I think as you graduate in a relationship that might not need as much explanation, but especially in the beginning, you want to be able to understand, have the other person understanding when things go wrong. For example, if I'm 30 minutes late for a date, I want to let that person know, if they're on time, hey, I appreciate them being on time. Why I'm late coming, explain to them, hey, is this going to be a random occurrence, not a random occurrence? Because again, some people might be like, you know what, I planned my entire day around this. I was able to be on time. Why can't you? And vice versa. Are you someone that's going to yell at someone if they're if they're not at a particular point at that time? Or are you someone that's going to be considerate? I mean, what are your expectations when it comes to that? Because typically, if you have a shorter fuse, that can definitely be an issue down the road when things don't go anywhere. Things are going away, or you're trying to make a particular meeting, trying to pick up kids, etc. So I think at the beginning, how you handle that situation matters. You probably get more forgiveness in the dating phase than being in a relationship and in marriage. But I don't have an experience on that. I'll leave that to Sean. But I think at the bare minimum, those are things I'm looking for.
Bronsberg, what do you think?
So Onu, if I'm saying his name correctly, he made a lot of good points. Now, I'm obviously I've never been married, right? I'm still a single man. As terms of respect, when we're talking about relationships at first, you guys are getting to know each other. I always say this. I say relationships are a prelude and a test for being married. So when we're talking about respect, ground rules have always have to be established between you two in order for you guys to have an understanding of each other to then say, this is my boundary, this is your boundary, we're gonna learn to respect it. Even if we don't agree on everything 100%, just the fact of the matter that we have the set ground rules as we get to know each other over time, then that sets the precedence for how you guys are going to be long term. So that's my opinion on it. Now, marriage, I usually feel like when it comes to marriage, you guys should already know each other enough to know what the respect level is. So there shouldn't be any complications or problems, with like feeling like, oh well, I never knew that, or I didn't, all these different things happened and you didn't tell me that, or you disrespected me. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because by marriage, it should be known. Not to say that it has to be effective 100%, because you grow with a person. So at the end of the day, marriage just means that the ground rules is already set. So when it comes to respect factor, especially when it comes to the first date, it kind of sounds like it's a it kind of sounds like it's a job, like a job interview. You know what I mean? You
I
come late. You come late. It's kind of like you don't get the job. Now you come there maybe 5 to 10 minutes late, and you let that person know that you come in late, and that's respectable because at least then the communication was there, as opposed to just like I'm just gonna show up on a date whenever I want, right? So things like that when it comes to the respect level. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Um, I'm not sure where she's at right now. She just went off the panel. So I guess if the other brothers want to chime in. Nope.
I guess let me. Well, I mean, to go what you want you to say about Brownsburg, I think like let's say in a relationship or even in a marriage, like when it comes to that, I mean, there's a different expectation. I mean, you have expectations at that point. Like you can't just do whatever you want to do or show up whenever you want to show up.
Hmm.
Like typically, maybe you're working. I'm the most times because I'm working late, or maybe I have an errand to run that can cause me to come home at a later particular time. Some people like might pass that off in the beginning, like I'm not gonna bring it up because again, what's the damage gonna cause? Some people want accountability, 100% accountability all the time. Like I've been in situations where it's like, hey, if I'm supposed to be somewhere at 6 o'clock, and I can't get there till 7. I'm stuck in traffic. Sometimes, hey, texting or saying I'm stuck in traffic is useless. Sometimes it's necessary. So again, I guess each person is different. You have to test the situation out. You have to know what the other person is expecting for in order to deal with that. For me, again, I'm kind of more laid back, lazy fair when it comes to that. Like I'm not going to be more picky in the dating phase about in particulars. Like again, as long as you can check in with me, and I feel that I have trust in the person, I think that's fine. In a marriage, again, I've never been married before, but I know based on other people's marriages I've seen, again, being 15 minutes late might be the difference between a kid standing outside for 15 minutes unaccounted for, or not being able to get to a particular meeting or a particular event on a reservation at a particular set of time.
Hmm.
So I know the magnitude is definitely different. Like in dating, like again, what I mean, worst thing that happen is you lose, as you say, lose the job, maybe you lose the girl, but again, you don't want to lose the relationship or lose the marriage because hey, you're unable to account for some inconvenience on your end to help someone else prepare for that. I guess that's what I was trying to say.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, like, yeah, we do agree that it's two difference,
Right.
with a date and when you're married. Now with married,
Yes.
it's just kind of like that person's ish. So I would think that it would be a little bit more lenient when you're married as opposed to a relationship. When you're first getting to know them. Now, I'm not talking when I'm not talking about when you guys are well seasoned. When I'm talking about when you first get to know them. You know what I mean? Because obviously through that phase you're trying to make a great impression on your potential mate. So things is going to be a little bit more, it's going to require more, it's going to be more expectations when you're first going for it. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean by that. But I mean, otherwise now, when you're well seasoned into a relationship, I'm not. I know it's different, but then when you're married, it's just kind of like you know the expectations and the ground rules set already. So that's what I was getting at in terms of that. But I agree with I understand where you're coming from with that.
Anyone else wants to chime in?
Sure. So I'll add, since Crystal leveraged my go-to, because normally that's what I'll ask, or what I'll say that is important for me in a relationship. As much as love is important, for me, respect is a priority, and by that I mean it's being somewhat of a safe space, and by that I mean if I present an idea that is different from yours, being open to hearing my opinion, not cutting me off, or making assumptions based on your previous experiences, right, with other men. Because sometimes, I've noticed that we walk into that when when I've entered into relationships with some women. It's a preconceived notion of who I am based on a past, right? So it's just letting me start fresh with a clean slate, and let's build from there. And if I have an idea that is different from yours, allowing that to be okay, be open to a different idea, respecting me, and my thought process, and being open to it. Not necessarily saying you're going to do everything that I say. No, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I don't think that's what I'm looking for. Somebody to just go along to get along and do everything that I want to do, but also to be open to the things that I do want to do, and trust me, and see me as someone that is of value, right? And not just a placeholder, or just filling another box on the checklist of life. So that's what I mean. For me, is that respect factor is so important. The way you talk to me, and of course this is all mutual. But from my perspective, I think the way we talk to one another is very important. And when we don't necessarily hold people in the highest regards, and then we start to talk to them in a very particular way that is not pleasant, the tone can be almost, and one is like especially for women that may have children, sometimes they transfer that energy into their relationships with us men. But I threw it out there too, some other questions, ask the ladies while we're waiting for Crystal to come back. So I'm seeing a couple of questions trickle in. So I hope Crystal doesn't mind while we're waiting for her to rejoin, that we'll
Right.
just throw some of these good questions out to us, and we can kind of take it from there.
Sounds good.
So I think the first question we have from Mashia is, what factors make you pursue a woman with intention?
Think I don't think I understand that question. I'm not sure I understand the wording of that
So
question.
I'm going to kind of say it like how I think the question is meant. And Mashia, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm saying something that's out of line with what your question is. So I think she's asking, like, what are the things that we look for in a woman that are going to make us have a deeper intention with her, right? What are the things that are going to, make us pursue a relationship with a woman, and we're going to want that relationship to be a deeper relationship versus, a service one.
Okay. So, am I answering first?
Sure, go ahead, go for it.
Wow.
It's the men's takeover of
the
Crystal, and
takeover.
that's
All right.
YouTube
Well,
page.
okay. So I think I'm getting right back in the dating scene right now. So I'm hearing the word women with intention. I think women intention means women that what's a plan or purposeful dating. So when I hear that, to me, it's like I automatically start thinking guidelines. Exactly, where do you see this being, like 3 months from now, 1 year from now, 5 years from now? So again, like everyone has like professional goals they want to they aspire to be. So I have relationship goals where I aspire to do so. So where do you see something being in 1 month, 3 months, 1 year, etc.? So if I'm meeting somebody that I'm intentionally dating, initially, again, building a friendship is great, and I think that's important. But if there's no attraction, or if there's no desire to want to be more than a friendship, then again, I think that's going to fizzle off, and that can fizzle off way quicker than three months. So again, what is going to keep me initiated to that person? So like in my case, like what I've seen, again, I'm just my own self case study. If I'm trying to date somebody with intentions, and you're going out of town on trips or with girlfriends, birthdays, etc., to me, I look at that as that's not your number one purpose, or I feel like I'm a second guard in that person's life, especially when if I'm making every attempt to spend as much time with that person. So that's one of the things I look for intention, because again, purposeful dating means like, hey, I'm trying to get to know somebody. I'm trying to make myself available as much as possible to see that person. Now, can I expect that person to be there all the time? No, but at the same time, when I'm doing mental tallies, I'm like, hey, every time I call this person, I'm getting an excuse why they're not available, or I'm seeing them with other people versus me. My mind tends to wander. If someone's dating with you with intention, there's really no time to date other multiple people at the same time. So what intention means, like, this is the person I see myself future with, versus me dating. I can date multiple people at the same time and not see where things go in that relation, where it goes in those relationships, or if I'm having a ranking system, okay, which one of these women catches my interest the most. When I say I'm dating with intention, I'm purposely dating to see why this person meets the qualities I'm looking for, and can that person meet all the requirements I'm looking for in a potential mate. And when one of those things are not being met up to par, again, that's going to cause me to step back and say, hey, you know what? I can't put 100% or 110% in this person when I'm not getting it back at the same time.
So, I'm gonna try my best to answer the question. I definitely think when you're talking about dating with attention, me as a man, for what I'm looking for in a woman, definitely plans do come into the equation about like what are we gonna do? Because my thing is, if we're also talking about geared towards marriage, we also have to understand that it's a business. And I want to make sure that the woman that I'm dealing with, you know, we both have an understanding of where we're trying to go. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have my own business. She wants to have her own business, and also still engage in a partnership. And my thing about it is, with a friendship, I'm very, because this is the thing. I think sometimes when people get into the dating field, they're so into the infatuation that they're not trying to get into the goal of actually enjoy the relationship. I mean, yes, let's get to it. Holding hands is great. Sex is great. Kissing is great. That's all fine and dandy. But at the same time, it's a difference between infatuation and actually wanting to date. So my thing about it is, yeah, I want a best friend. I don't want a woman to just think, oh, it's just gonna be like I love you, kissy kissy. Like, I want my woman to understand we gonna joke, we gonna laugh, we gonna have a good time, right? Um, but going on with intentions, I also want my woman to understand, we still need to build as individuals, right? I have stuff that I have to work on, so do you, right? The thing about it is, let's not get caught up on baggage either, because this is something we also have to talk about mental health, because this is something also that I think that a lot of people in relationships may miss, bringing in being with baggage so much that you might be thinking that your ex-boyfriend is the epitome of your current boyfriend or the man that you're seeing now, right? That we should have a productive conversation on understanding what is those traumas you've been through, what is the traumas I've been through, are you still dealing with it, and if so, how do you feel like filtering that out? Not that I'm forcing you, but I want you to understand that I'm here for you, and you should be here for me too as we work through this together to hopefully become married, right? So dating with intentions on my gear with that, it really focuses on that pretty much.
Awesome. Oh, we got Crystal back in the house. You're back
Can
in
y'all
the
hear me?
We can hear you very
Yes.
well. We can hear you very well.
David has
Oh,
now
okay. So my
encrypted
computer
Crystal's
is
cookies.
having issues. Sorry about that, y'all.
No worries. You had the men's takeover for the last about 10 minutes or so.
That's great. That's what this is here for. So Bronsberg, you were talking about intentions, but it's something interesting that you just said about you want to make sure that mental health is such a huge issue, or and that your woman is not bringing her previous relationship into the new relationship, right?
Right.
So are the men doing the same thing? That's what, because go ahead, Onu.
Oh,
You had a thought.
go ahead.
Man, you're giving me these loaded questions. I mean, I mental health is a big deal, and I think that's like the new hot topic in the past 2 years or so. And I think in the past, people would look at their partner as the person as a sounding board to help correct their problems. And to me, medically, that's probably not healthy. Like I'm a full component of therapy. I'm a full component of being able to talk to outside counsel about your problems and find ways in how to make solutions. You can't expect your partner to do that for you. And men need to find an adequate source to express their problems and not be just against them, because again, that's a huge stigma in the men's community. It's a huge stigma that I see with men patients that I see every single day. And it's just like, where do they go? Where do they talk about these things? If they can't talk about at home, and there's not like a professional provider who's trained in that to talk to, like, where are they going to, if they can't go to a physician, they can't go to psychiatrist, psychologist, like, where do you go? Like, it's I agree with Bronsberg, like, it's hard difficult to make the spouse the reason for that. And again, we have to find ways better not to allow that to only be the way to talk about things. Now, I think it's important to share certain things with your spouse, but you can't make her fix the problems that you have or problems from the past. I agree with that 110%, 10 times during the week, twice on Sunday. But or we're starting to get to the point where men are being more vulnerable about what's bothering them. And like one of the great examples that I saw like in this past year was like with Karen and Miles. What Miles was like, you know what, these are my trigger points, and these are the things that will cause me to get upset. And when Karen kind of didn't understand those and then even started attacking them or triggering those trigger points, he was able to have a mature conversation and tell him like, hey, like this is not going to step. This is the problem I have. This is what works. Didn't work for me in the past. This needs to work for me. To me, that was a very mature way of handling that situation. We don't see the examples much often, but that's the ideal picture that I see with men moving forward. Like, we have to be able to do that and that be acceptable and that be the norm.
But go back to something you said that was so interesting. And again, it probably was a lot of editing, but in that show, a lot of her talking heads were, well, I really wanted a masculine man. I really wanted a man that would take charge. And it really seemed like that was her wall that she had up. So Sean, when it comes to masculinity and being that masculine man, do you find that a lot of women have an issue when you want to be vulnerable?
I mean, yeah, that is a layered question, and I think that there are, as much as I've heard that women want men to be vulnerable, I think we're not always well received when we are vulnerable, right? Because of what that might look like. So it's not always a safe space for men to be vulnerable in their relationships. And I think that's when that question of, for me, that respect part is so important, because I need you to be a safe space, right? And I think some women are open, and it depends. But I think universally there's this idea, just like, and I didn't watch that season of Married at First Sight, but I think that some women have an archetype or a picture of what masculinity is going to look like, and when a man may fall somewhere outside of that, they can get poked at, they can get called a whole lot of things. I did watch the last season of Married at First Sight, and I just distinctly remember that Ryan's sexuality was called out because he didn't want to have sex immediately with Clara. Now, again, I might not align with everything that he's thinking, but what I do see often happen is when a man doesn't line up the way that he's supposed to, or do things the way that women may think that he should, then they're going to call him out. Even now, there's this brewing conversation around Jose in the current season. And again, I don't know these things to be true. I don't know anything about it. I'm just saying these are examples of how it plays out when a man is vulnerable or may show up differently on the perceived scale of masculinity. That can happen, and then that makes you not feel like it's a safe space, because if you do something outside of the norm, or if you talk a little bit too much about therapy, or you talk about your emotions or the things that trigger you or emotional experiences that you may have had, it's like you're told to man up. So that part can be problematic in that dynamic between men and women.
Eric, do you think there is a perceived space of masculinity or a traditional view of masculinity that men have to uphold themselves to?
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I think there is a perceived notion of masculinity, but I think it's about as a man understanding what it looks like, what it feels like for you. You know what I mean? So when it comes to whether you're in a relationship, and let's say you're going into marriage, and a one man ideal may be a masculinity is paying all the bills, making sure that the wife or fiance feel protected, making sure that they open up the door for different things like that. That one man may see, another man may see it different. So, because I think it stems from how we're raised and how we develop as a child and how our parents raised us. So it just depends on what that man see as masculinity. If he had a father or if he was raised by his mother. So that's one thing I think is important, and men be raised by other men so they know what masculinity looks like, and that sometimes it is okay being vulnerable. It's okay getting therapy, but having those conversations with another man and having someone in your life that can work with you and develop you so you can grow into being a masculine man, so you can provide for your family, so you can protect your woman, so you can do all these other things that I believe that a masculine man should do. But I think the way today's society, is going now, different men look at masculinity different. You get what I'm saying? So I think it's about once you get into a relationship with a woman and you have that discussion on, your values, what does when it comes to masculinity and what she need, and having those discussions, because certain things that you're going to and you getting into a relationship, for instance, like some women don't believe in paying 50-50, for example. That's a touchy subject when it comes to finance. But other women do. And then another man may look at it and say, well, that's not masculine, bro. You need to be taking care of your household. You need to be paying 100% of the bills, or you need to be paying 90% of the bills, or whatever the case may be. So I think just being sure in yourself on the knowledge and wisdom that you have. And if you think you don't, or you're not unsure about yourself or your masculinity, to reach out to mentors, reach out to coaches, get therapy. If you need to get a man therapist or whatever the case may be, to figure out what's important to you, to figure out what does it mean to you. Because I think once you figure that out, then you're sure about yourself. You're sure in your masculinity. So it doesn't matter who comes in your life, what type of woman comes in your life. You know what it means to you. And you can let her know, hey, this is what it means to me. This is how I can provide for you. This is my way of providing. And then you can get feedback from her. If she's not with it and that's what you're about, and you're sure about that, then you may have to find someone else. You know what I mean? So just having that discussion and just being very sure in what you believe your masculinity should look like and what it should feel like.
I love that, but you brought up a lot of questions from there. And I really want to go to Bronsberg real quick, because something that you just touched on, Eric. So Bronsberg, do you think because a lot of men have been brought up, and I had my my statistics, but y'all know my computer issues tonight. So, when we have that single mother household, that a lot of men, when it does come time for them to have a woman in their lives, their masculinity, they don't know where to turn as far as how masculine they are in the household. That's when their masculinity comes into question, or because they've been raised by a single mother.
Um, well, my opinion on that is that men who are raised by single parents, more specifically the single mother, this is where it falls into line. Let's just say that it was an unfortunate situation, and the mother had to be like, "Hey, I got to just raise my son." You know, the mother would make a wise choice of trying to find a father figure for that son, and have, even if it's not a significant other, an uncle or grandfather, and this, that, and the third. But getting down to the conversation, a lot of men that I even spoke to in real life, their whole entire thing is that when they deal with women, they can deal with them on a very subjective level, where they might just be thinking that the woman is just like, well, I'm just gonna listen to what other guys say around me, which is sometimes just not the best advice. And they could really be thinking as the woman, like, I'm gonna just have sex with her, or I'm gonna this, that, and the third. And they could be dealing with some trashy women, for a lack of a better term. So I think when it comes to development of men, specifically on finding their masculinity and how they are around women, I think sometimes I advocate this, and also in mental health. Sometimes you just gotta be by yourself before you entertain a woman, because I think it's just that we get too much caught on that whole entire idea. I need some type of companionship. I need some type of love. I need some type of someone around me to fill that void that I haven't fixed myself. So with me, like certain brothers ask me, it's like, oh yeah, you're single, blah blah blah. You should get out there. Look, listen. The time will come when the time will come. If I need to be by myself to figure myself out in order to enact in more in my masculinity and stuff like that, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, am I wrong for saying this? There's more women than men. So at the end of the day, when it's time for me to go out there and just be like, hey, I want to get to know someone, I'll have the chance to do that. You know what I mean? There's no time limit on when I can get to know a woman, or this, that, and the third. The important thing is the journey first, and the masculine journey first. And that's why I say men have to stop thinking you have to have a woman when it comes to your masculinity to see if you can test it out or enact on it.
I love that, because a lot of women are doing the same thing, and we're trying to, spend time with yourself and make sure that you are happy with yourself first before you enter into a relationship. Because if you enter into a relationship and you're not good with yourself, then whatever issues you have is you're going to bring into that relationship, and then you both you're damaging both parties. But I do want to get back to something you said about listening. A lot of people say it's always the woman that does not listen. But sometimes sometimes it is the man that's not listening to, or women listen to, what is the saying? Women listen to respond. Men listen to advise. What do you guys think about that?
Agreed.
Really? Expand on that.
If you're saying brothers listen to advise, and what was the other one you said again?
And women listen to respond. They're just so,
Yeah,
as soon as you say something to me, I'm automatically going to give you a rebuttal or a response.
yeah, I agree. Um, the thing about it is that understanding the psychology, we know the understanding that women are different from men, men are different from women. So the thing about it is that with that statement being made, women are operating at an emotional level in order to react back to what the man is saying. The man is saying, when you hear what I'm saying, I'm giving this careful thought. So logically, I'm telling you what the best move is and exactly where I'm coming from. So it's not a diss at women. This is just the psychology of what it is between women and men. So it is a rebuttal on a woman's half, but a man is not really designed for that. So if the rebuttal becomes toxic, he's gonna be like, well, I don't want to listen to this, and I'm not at peace with you because you want to just rebuttal instead of listening to what I'm saying and hearing what I'm saying, and then taking the mental notes that you have to then make a judgment call and then respond to it. If you get what I mean.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. But so we're truly just working on emotions, and but when you said I'm not at peace with you, so you think that that's always going to be the response from the man?
Uh, no. I
Okay.
mean, it's not always like that, but let's just say in that one instance, it might be like that, and it is. Sometimes you do have men that do say like, I'm not at peace, because depending on the woman that they're dealing with, it could be very toxic where she's just ready to rebuttal and ready to scream at the top of their lungs and be like, "You're not listening to me. You're not listening to me." Well, how is the conversation going to go? It has to be at peace, not to sit up there and say it might not get passionate. Of course, we're humans. We react like that. But and we give off energy. That's just how we're designed.
Sure.
So, I mean, obviously, I'm not expecting it to be all like Cheerio and tea and crumpets or something like that. But obviously, you just know how to go about the conversation.
Tom, what do you think about that? The listening. Do you think that I'm going to say the majority of women that are not at peace with themselves have an issue with listening?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Who did you want?
You first, Sean, and then Eric.
Okay, perfect. So I think it's just a thing. I don't even know if it's or my experience has been if the person is not at peace, because, and I'll just share this little thing I learned in couples counseling when I was married. What I found is that men are often, and again, we're going to just speak in generalities. Of course, it's not 100% of men, but typically men are problem solvers. So, my wife at the time may come home and give me a whole rundown of her day. And baked into that might be some problems or challenges that she had. And my response back to her would be some solutions, right? Or if this is probably the third or fourth time that I've heard a specific problem raised, then I'm going to give you a solution to fix that problem. Whereas that's not what she was looking for. So I had to learn in certain instances, or when we were having conversations and I was just getting an information dump, for lack of a better way of doing it, I would just ask, are you just looking to vent now? And if she responded yes, then that meant it was up to me to just listen and be a listening ear. Because it wasn't automatic for me. And I think a lot of us men, like when we're hearing a lot of information, all right, we're like, okay, so how can we solve for this so that, I don't have to keep hearing the same thing over and over again. But sometimes what your spouse may need from you, or the woman may need from you, is just for you to listen to her and for you to make space for that to happen and to exercise some empathy in there. So it was something I had to learn, right? And I think on the other end, what I heard, and sometimes especially when presented with information that a woman is not agreeable to, or if it's something alternative to what she's thinking, then as soon as she hears the one buzzword, it's going to be it's just going to be an automatic response before you even finish saying what you're saying. And I've even experienced that in, my short tenure in YouTube, right? I could be talking about something or sharing my opinion, but if I say a trigger word, like we know those expressions exist. Like if somebody says, "What do you bring to the table?" I'm not even finished the sentence. The trigger happens, right? And it's like, and you're finished. You can't even get to what your thought was because the listening ear is shut down, and it's all about, okay, let me hammer back at him. What are you bringing to the table? I am the table, and then you go down that slippery slope.
Not I am the table. Go ahead, Eric. What do you think about the listening question?
I think he pretty much said it all, but just I guess in addition to what he was saying, I think that what I've experienced is just being an active listener to her husband or to the man that she's with. Because what I've learned is it could be from certain things in her past that she hasn't, healed from, and certain trigger words, as he said, which is correct, that trigger her to respond opposed to listening to the whole conversation. I think that when it comes to ensuring that, number one, she understands her man and how he operates. And I think some women, they don't understand that piece. So for example, she could have been with a man who played games or something. So when he have a conversation with her, the way she actively listens or responds may be different than him. But now she get with a good man who means what he says. Meaning, hey, babe, I need this done by X, Y, Z, or babe, can you help me out with this? Or babe, this is what I feel. And he may say, hey, this is what I feel. In her mind, she may interpret it, because women go a lot by feelings. Hey, he's saying this, but this is what he means. No, he really mean what he mean. So if he means what he means, how you can be a helpmate to him, or how you can be a help to him, is if he's saying, I need this, I need help with this on my business, or I need assistance with this, or whatever the case may be, help him with that. You know what I'm saying? Or if he say, I give you an example. He may say, babe, I'm working on this, whatever the case, I need this for my company. You know what I'm saying? Or, hey, for my birthday, I give you an example. My birthday, you know what I want? Only thing I want is we can just chill, watch Netflix, Netflix, and just chill out. I'm cool with that. We ain't even got to go out. I'm cool with that. And she may interpret in her mind, and this is like I said, in my personal experience, she may buy him a wallet. And he be like, I didn't even mention a wallet. Why would she even buy me a wallet? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's funny, but that's my personal experience. I got something totally different than what she asked me that I wanted. So I think just the interpretation of what she's feeling and what she's actually hearing from the man that she with, and understand that I want women to hear this. If you have a good man, he's going to be honest about what he feels. He's going to be honest about what he wants. Only thing you have to do is listen to him. And once you start providing some of the things that he needs or he's asking for, and most time, good men are going to reciprocate. They're going to make sure you get what you need. They're going to make sure they provide for you. They're going to make sure that you have all these things. But you can't cut this man off mid-sentence. He said he want this, you get him. He said blue, you say red. He said I want this, you give him something opposite. It's not about just how you feel. Put your emotions aside and just listen. And once you listen, provide him for what he wants. He's telling you what he wants. And most women, if they do that, they're going to see their relationship, their marriages, their dating be so much better.
Onu, do you have anything to add to that? Is Onu gone?
I don't have anything to add. I think the answer is yes. I think communicate the way men and women communicate are kind of different. They are different. It's just, do you understand the differences in that? Again, I fall victim to that. And again, following back what Sean has to say, it's like every time you hear a problem, my main objective is to fix the problem. But I've realized, like, you know what? Sometimes you just need to have the person vent their problem and not provide a solution for it, or allow them to get to the solution on their own pace, not your own pace. And like with guys, like, we want to get from A to B as fast as we can, but that's not how women work. Women just want to be able to address the problem and see exactly what needs to happen in order to get to the solution. So allow them to have time to get a solution. You should be good enough.
Okay, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit, because I think it was Sean who, when we first were introduced to Sean several months ago, was it you that said, when you hear the word independent, you turn and run, like that's it. You would need to change the words. I think that was Sean, and you need to change it to self-sufficient. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say run, but my antenna may go up, and I might be like, okay, let me hear what's coming next, because it's a narrative that's kind of got pushed out there, and a lot of women are comfortable saying that, I'm independent, I don't need a man. That comes with some other things behind it. So I think it's interdependence, which is important in relationships. Like, if you want to be successfully single, then being independent is a great skill set to have. But for either one of us to just be solely focused on our independence and then want to be in a relationship together, that's going to be a very difficult relationship to manage if the entire relationship I'm fighting for my independence and you're fighting for your independence. We need each other, and that's that, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that something happened along the way where that vulnerability has become unpopular. So it's more popular to be strong, more popular to be independent, more popular to be super self-sufficient, in the sense that, I've achieved such great acumen in my career and I make XYZ amount of money, so I don't need a man. And, some of those things may be true, but all of those things also are not going to get you relationship satisfaction.
So I'm going to tell you what I think about that. That I don't need a man motto. I think that's a lie. I think that that's something that we tell ourselves. That's self-preservation because of whatever things that we've been through. That in It's not the idea of I don't need. It's yes, we may be self-sufficient. Yes, you're climbing up the corporate ladder. We got a good job and we're paying the bills, but that has nothing to do with need or want that communication, that companionship. So what do you think? Let's go back to Eric. What do you think about that? That I don't need a man and the difference between independence and self-sufficient.
Wow, that's a good question. I appreciate you providing that comment. I think there's nothing wrong with a woman being self-sufficient. Um, when it comes to her trying to get a good career, maybe she want to work her way up the corporate ladder, whatever she has an aspiration, goals, and what she envision her life and what it looks like. I think she should pursue those things. I think it's a difference when you're talking about independence when you're getting into you're going to be dating or you're getting into a relationship. I think that yeah, you're self sufficient before you are getting into a relationship or a marriage or whatever the case may be. But I think once you start dating and you're trying to become one, which is you're moving, you're dating with intention to move towards marriage. I think the independent type of word or thing that you hear a lot of, I don't need no scrub, I'm an independent woman, I don't need no man, all that good stuff. But I think that understanding um, the importance of his role in your life. If you're saying you're going to be dating this man, or if you're going to be moving to marriage and so forth and so on, there's nothing wrong with being self-sufficient, but just understanding, hey, if this person or this man is coming into my life, that having an idea, understanding what his role is, so you both can be compatible, you both can compromise, you both can build, share your values, so you can go to the next level. And I think sometimes, and even my experience, I found like some women that I feel they are independent, if you want to say, and they get to a point where they say they don't need a man. That's when a man become kind of distant from them, because in some cases they may feel like, hey, I can't help her, she thinks she know everything, or she can't receive advice, or she can't receive suggestions, or she really don't want help. Because some women, when you say independent, they really take it there when you say independent, because they feel like they don't need anyone, they can do anything, they don't ask for help, and they find weakness in being vulnerable. Some with independent women, not all, but she's got to understand her feminine energy and her vulnerability with her man is her strength. But sometimes independent women look at it as a weakness. It's like, nah, you're actually losing your power. That's your power, because most men want to fix situations. Most men want to help. Most men, especially when they get married, have to lay their life down for their wife. You know what I'm saying? But if you arrogant and independent, what makes him want to really share with you? What makes him want to share his wealth or his resources or his love or his, all this other stuff? What's bringing that out of him? You know what I'm saying? And she got to realize certain things as a being feminine and you say independent, but being overly strong, it doesn't bring certain things out of a man, because he's already strong and masculine. Now you bring it, instead of bringing out feminine energy, you're bringing out more masculine energy, so it causes him to push back. But if you notice, if you grow and you say independent, you still can be a self-sufficient woman and still be feminine and bring the feminine energy where you both can compromise, you both can collaborate, and you both can grow, whether it's values, whether it's life, whether it's marriage, whatever it is. And you'll find that in that type of relationship, when you bring that, you're self-sufficient. I ain't gonna say all this independent type of talk, but being self-sufficient, but also bringing your feminine energy, being vulnerable with him, being able to open up to him so he can open up to you. And you'll find that your relationship will grow faster. It's going to take you longer to grow with a man, and that's if he decides to stay with you. To grow with a man, if you're so independent and so masculine, like you got everything and you don't need no help, he may be patient and take time with you. But at a point, if you don't change, he don't really have to deal with it, and some men are not. That's too much. Why would we need two masculine energies in a relationship? So being self-sufficient is fine. I have no problem with that. But understand each other's role and responsibility in that relationship. And that's what make the relationship balance. And that will make the relationship last. That's what it's about, being life partners. Making sure your relationship that move to a fiance and then move to a marriage. And that what makes that become a life partner. So that's my take.
Okay, I want to go to Bronzebird first and then Onu. What do you think about the difference between the self-sufficient and independence? What do you think about what Eric just said? Bronzebird, you first.
I agree. It's like, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I just would be adding on, but I think that he makes a great point. My thing about it is, specifically in the dating field, I think a lot of men run away from women that say that they're independent because it invokes some type of competition. I don't want to be in a competition with my woman. I want my woman to understand, you know, well, obviously, self sufficiency works because of the fact that in the society we live in, pretty much you can't be under your parents. You gotta go be able to make money on your own, right? Regardless if you're a man or a woman. That's just how it is in this society. So everybody has to work. Everybody has to pay bills. So the thing about it is, of course, when it comes to self sufficiency, it's just the fact that I want to know that you're able to take care of yourself so that when I'm in the picture, you are already taking care of yourself. I'm just adding on to it, I guess, and vice versa. But the independent thing, it's a crazy conversation because I just remember really quickly this YouTuber that was like, you know, talking about independence. One of these like infamous panels that they usually hold for black people more specifically. I forgot her name, but she was talking about, you know, all these men always want to ask me what I bring to the table. I helped a man create a business and I helped him get money when he had nothing. But there's a problem in that. Because yes, you could be helping someone, but are you actually legitimately doing it? Or are you doing it to kind of just say, look at my accomplishments? You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem with certain, you know, women that might claim the independence. My thing is, I want you to do it because you actually want to do it. But at the same time, as men, I believe we should have our stuff together, you know, in some type of way. You know what I mean? That's why I always say be by yourself first before you start to entertain a woman. So independence to me, like, I don't care if you make 6, 7 figures more than me. I don't care if you have a PhD or a master's degree. I went to college too. So it's not really harming me when you mention all these accomplishments. I'm just like, that's great. Because I would never say that you should not make those accomplishments. Absolutely. But don't be the type of person to kind of just use it against me like, oh, well, you got this type of degree. Whether I got just an associate's or a bachelor's, but you went ahead and got a got a master's or a PhD. I don't need none of that. I just need you to understand I prefer self-sufficiency over independence, in my fair opinion. You know, I don't want the competition.
Onu, what do you think about that? Does that breed competition? Dr. Amadi?
Competition.
Say it again.
What brings competition?
Does that breed competition? An independent woman or her like helping you with your business or something like that? And I'll be honest with you, Bronzebird, that has never been my idea of like, if I'm going to help somebody, I'm just going to help them. But I'm not saying that women haven't come to you like that. Because just to get the pat on the back. But do you think the independent woman being equal partners breeds competition. Sorry, Onu. What do you think about that?
I mean, it depends. I think it depends on how it's perceived. Like when I hear interdependence, the independent woman, I'm thinking about that the boss lady, someone that's an independent running business. And when I relate to that, I'm always thinking about alpha energy in a woman, and I think that's counterproductive. That type of energy is not going to help you in the dating world. Like I don't know how many women are going to go out on a first date in a suit and tie. I've yet to see one. So if the objective, I mean, you have to know. I'm a firm believer is you got to understand the assignment and play the assignment to a T. So if the assignment is I'm gonna be a lady and I'm gonna display feminine energy, and you're not gonna do that, why are you? How do you think you're gonna? What type of men are you gonna attract, or what type of men is going to be able to tolerate that? And I think that's the main problem we run into when we start seeing those situations. If we're expecting ladylike behavior, expecting feminine energy, and we're not getting that, that's gonna be counterproductive. 'Cause again, we both can be playing the same script. Against the same, I think the similar conversation we've been having on so many different forums, like for the past couple of months. And I think that's the main issue. The main issue is like sometimes, at least I'm seeing when I'm seeing this interdependence, that's the main issue. It's like I'm not seeing ladylike activity or behavior coming from that. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong being a boss, but at the same time, if you're going to be someone that's going to display that type of energy, am I going to be someone that wants to work for you? And probably the answer is going to be no.
Okay, Sean. Onu just brought up a great point, and that's actually going to be my next question. So, do you think the roles have changed? A lot of men have talked about recently uh, women displaying masculine energy. Have the roles and responsibilities changed for women, or yeah, in a relationship and for women? Sean first.
I don't know that the roles have changed as much as I think just the same way earlier when we were talking about men and masculinity and what that means. I think we're seeing some changes in terms of women and what femininity means for women. And that's something that I see, and I'm learning, especially over the last few months when we have these conversations, and we'll look at a woman who parades around and calls herself a boss, and we see some of these examples on different television shows, and they kind of have a braggadocious kind of attitude, and to us it's masculine, but that it may not just be it may not be necessarily masculine as I'm learning, right? It may be the first thing that I point to because that's what it looks like, but it's just that person's attitude. And I think more importantly than the masculinity of it all, I think it's what's behind that, and it's the competitiveness, like Onu spoke about, right? Is that a woman feeling that she has to wear her career as a badge of honor. She has to wear her accomplishments or what she has obtained as a badge of honor. And as men, that's just not attractive to me. And I think for a lot of us men, it's just not an attractive quality. Is there a subset of men that might be attracted to that? I'm sure it exists. But for me, that is not attractive when I meet a woman that leads with the things that she has, or that she is a boss, or now she's saying I'm an alpha female. That to me is not attractive. I don't need you to be that. I'm that, so I would say that is something that has come about because of, we have so many women that have obtained success, have advanced degrees, have made strides in the professional world. So more in the last 20 or 30 years than ever. So I think in order, like some women just feel like they just need to lead with that. But it's important that you have that, and those things may be good for you. But in a relationship, I'm not interested, because just like I believe it was Eric or Bronsberg that mentioned, listen, I have my own success. I have my own things. So I'm not entering into a relationship looking or expecting a woman to provide those things for me. It's important that you have success in your career, and your job is important for you to provide for yourself. But It's not something on my list that I'm like, oh, that's going to make me go, crazy to want to pursue a woman with those things.
Right. And in addition to that, I'll add something onto his point. I think it was all of it was good. I think because we're talking about dating with intention, and I want to probably ask Crystal a question as well when it referring to, when it comes to roles reversed for as a female. I want to hear her perspective on that as well because, you know, I want to get an there you go, Crystal. Yeah, I want to get an understanding, Crystal, as well. And I answer the question, but from a female perspective, what do you feel? Do you feel like the roles have reversed?
Yes and no. I want to know if there's a balancing act that I can. I mean, that's a tightrope. So, um, yes, gotta get out there and work, pay the bills, but still have that feminine energy. And wouldn't even know that I was displaying masculine energy. Someone would have to tell me that, or um, I'm not seeing that this guy's flirting with me because I'm too much of a boss. So I think that is a tightrope, and that was actually going to be my next thing. Is that I I don't think that the roles have reversed, but I do think that we as people have been so for so long trying to just make it happen, work hard to not just survive, but make good money and provide for our families. That when it comes to getting out there and dating, and when times have changed and we got to get out there as ladies, get out there and we want to meet somebody, um, am I displaying masculine energy because I go somewhere and I can you know, pay for my own drink or what have you? I don't know that I'm displaying masculine energy is my thing. I wouldn't know it if somebody told me that. So that's why. So when you guys talk about the roles reversing, I'm just talking about I'm I'm trying to get out there and work, but I have to make myself overly available to it seems like to me. So that's my take on it. So if the roles have reversed, I wouldn't think so, but I am seeing your point about I just don't know that we as women are displaying masculine energy. Somebody, yeah, I don't see that as a woman. So that's where my question is, how am I displaying masculine energy? So if I'm out there and I'm working and I'm, trying to make it happen. So
Hmm.
that's my question because I wouldn't know it. Me as a woman in this body, how am I knowing that? You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm. That's so. But I love the fact that you guys are saying that because you're not the only ones, as you know, that I've heard from recently about this masculine energy that we're displaying. So and
Hmm.
yeah, so that's my
Yeah,
question because
I
we
think. Mhm.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think actually I think sometimes it's a touchy situation when you speak about masculine energy for us coming, from a female. I think it just depends on what is her intentions. What does she want? Does she want to be in a committed relationship and eventually get married? The type of man that she wants, I think, is important to her understand because once she understand, I think for a female perspective, if once she understand what she wants and what that person, let's say if she wants a certain type of man, understanding from that man, even if she having a conversation, like you say, you have some conversation with some of the guys or whatever the case may be, that's a smart way to go because when it comes to marriage and get into a committed relationship and all that stuff, that is something that we're gonna, look at when it comes to feminine energy versus the masculine energy. And I think if she asks those questions, whether she got brothers, whether she got a father, whether she got male figures in her life, to ask those questions to figure out what maybe she's doing wrong or what type of man she's attracting. So I think just finding out what type of man she wants to attract, get around those type of men, and figure out what they are looking for, so she can get in a committed relationship or you can be married. And I think for me and what I've noticed, for some examples are some women are, when I say masculine, sometimes when you're out, not all women, they pretty, when you say independent, some maybe can smile a little more, just to say if she interested in this particular guy and he's over there in the same event she is, and vice versa. She's single, he's single. She may want him to see her or whatever the case may be. But I think just giving a smile, she don't have to necessarily go over there and approach him, but just give him something where he'd be like, okay, she's maybe a little interested in me, and if he's interested in her, he's maybe come over there and have a conversation with her. But it's just small things that women can do. It always have to be something large that they can do to draw a certain type of man to them. Definitely making sure that she's healed, because once she's here and healed and her feminine energy is coming off, she's going to attract the right type of men to her feminine energy. But if she have masculine energy, she's going to attract different type of men. I give an example. Some women made that controls a relationship. In her last relationship that she got of, she controlled. A lot of times, if she hasn't went to therapy or healed, she's going to have that masculine energy going forward into her next relationship, unless she works on that and try to develop and grow from that. So the next person that she get, the next male that she get, is going to be similar to the last that she had. Man, that maybe depend on her a little more because she's masculine. She want to take over. She want to be this independent type of woman. It may depend on her more than normal. It's more stressful, for her now, having that masculine energy. So I think just understand there's different ways and things you can look at for as women being in a relationship and having masculine energy. But I think the most important thing is the woman understanding the type of man that she wants, and being around those men and asking those questions, because we the one who's going to propose. We're the ones going to ask to marry you. So if you're around your homegirls, that ain't going to work. Your homegirls may tell you the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? But if you get around the right men, and these are the men, that you want, and the men of value that you want, then most men that are honest, that are value, and who want things in life, who's motivated, who's, entrepreneurs or whatever else, they're pretty straightforward about what they want. And you just have to be humble and vulnerable enough to ask the questions. If not, you're going to get the same results you've been getting. If you say, hey, I'm a feminine woman, but you're giving off masculine energy, you're not going to get typically a man of value. He's not going to have that because he don't have to. Like the guy, I think one of the guys said before, where you can have a master's and PhD and all this other stuff. He don't care about none of that. He's making his own money. He's doing his own thing as well. So it's just about, as a female, depending upon the type of man you want, know what you want, ask the right questions so you can attract the right man. That's all I got.
Okay, so I got two things. First, I want to go back to what Onu just said in the chat. But so Eric, no, actually, I want to go back. I want to ask Sean, because something that Eric just said. Sean, so before you met your wife, did you know the type of woman that you wanted? Because Eric just said women, they need to know what type of man they want. And of course, I do agree that we need to move in those circles. But Sean, did you know the type of woman you wanted?
Yeah, no, I had an idea of what I thought, the type of woman would be, that could be my wife for sure.
Okay, so you knew, and then that you started to move in those circles.
I don't know that it was a intentional, pursuit of, okay, I'm going to find a wife. It didn't manifest itself for me in that way. I was in a relationship with her. We were dating, and I saw potential, and then I saw some key indicators of things that I wanted in a wife at that time, and I decided to move forward, with the relationship and take it to the next level. So at that time in my life, when we were married, I wasn't like, okay, now I'm ready to be married. I think it was just a natural progression of where I was, if that makes any sense.
Do you think that women today are putting more onus on their careers than meeting someone? They're taking more time. I'm gonna actually go to Dr. Amadi. They're spending more time taking time with their careers than getting to know somebody and meeting someone.
You
Because
want me? You want
yeah,
me?
no, I want Odu first.
Okay.
I mean, these are tough questions. I think are they? I think women, yes, because there's been more, I would say, especially in the Black community, more push to getting professional degrees, master degrees, doctorate degrees than before. And because of that commitment, is kind of putting marriage on the back burner for that particular time. So the short answer, yes. Is it direct causation or secondary causation? That's the part I'm not sure.
Bronsberg, what do you think? Are we women out here running the Detroit Lions offense out in these streets?
You don't know. He's got some linebackers now playing. I was going to mention this earlier. Like, yeah, I mean, I do see that it's women that's, like, oh, I got to be considered about my career, blah, 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 blah. I want to be established before I meet a man. Now, this is a thing that Onu actually touched on this in the chat. What I see on social media, you be having these women out here proposing to men, getting down on one knee
Yeah,
towards a man. I look,
yeah. Let
I
me.
don't, I don't play that. You know what I mean? I'm not with all that.
All
I'm
right.
just
Oh,
saying.
look, I gotta explain
So,
myself.
go ahead.
No, I'll continue. I'll let you. I'll finish. I'll explain myself.
Yeah, so then when you see other stuff on social media, it's all that whole entire like I said earlier, the competition type of effect. You know what I mean? To something that Eric said, because it was something that Eric said that I wanted to touch upon. It escapes me a little bit, but the whole entire thing of the masculine behavior in women, I don't think like a woman like yourself, Crystal. I don't think it's wrong for you to work. I mean, obviously, like I said in the beginning, women and men have to work in this society. We all have to make money to pay our rent and pay our bills. I don't think it's a masculine behavior if it's a woman just taking care of herself and doing what she does. Now that feminine behavior comes in only if she is looking to sit up there and demean a man for not having the accomplishments on her level or around the same. That's when it starts to become masculine. There's nothing wrong with a woman being just paying bills and going to college and this, that, and third if that's what she wants to do. There's nothing masculine about that. And the thing about it is women are built to be naturally feminine. So it is kind of a little bit weird if I ever talk to a woman and say, I'm a feminine woman. Well, you're supposed to be feminine. I don't expect you to be masculine. I don't expect you to be sitting up there bench pressing 200 pounds or something like that and talking about I'm a real woman or a real independent woman. I'm just going to block you. I ain't going to even talk to you. So yeah, on that odds, you do see that nowadays, and I guess Ono is gonna touch on that more. But the whole entire thing that I see on social media, yeah, because now the factor of entitlement starts to come in, and you're starting to see that a lot now when it comes to entitlement.
Go ahead, Onu.
So, like, I think what Eric just he hit a point with me. I've been seeing like social media. I think I saw another video about this woman who got engaged to this guy, and then like the guy and the side chick like walked out, and then the husband, then the person's engaged father was trying to get in the face to why they rejected me. But I mean, it kind of boils down to like, hopefully I can tie this back into your interdependence for independence. This maps energy conversation. Like, if you have to convince me why I need to be with you or should be with you, to me is a lost cause. Because again, like, I don't know any woman on here on the panel or any woman in the comments that's going to go propose to a guy tomorrow and have him say yes or no. So again, if that's not that, again, understand the assignment and play to a T. So if you have to tell me you have a PhD, you have to tell me I make X amount of money, you have to tell me I'm the best thing you ever have. I mean, you lost me before the game even started, or in the first quarter. Now, if I see qualities in a woman that I want to perceive I can see to be with, if I see someone who is independent, who is a kind person, not just to me, but people around them, that has their stuff in order in place. Like, okay, like, taking care of themselves and vice versa. And I can say, you know what, if I invest my time, my resource in this person, I can see a prosperous future. Of course, I'm gonna go after that person. I'm gonna chase that person. I'm not gonna wait for someone to tell me, hey, you should be with me because I can do this for you. No, I'm gonna go after what I feel like is more compatible for me. Because again, if the assignment is I propose to the woman, then yeah, you can't come to me in a business suit.
Sean, what do you think about these women proposing to men nowadays?
It's a no for me. I'm not interested in that, you know. And I think if that has to be the case, then it's something's wrong, because I am traditional in a lot of aspects, and that's one of those things. Like, if you feel like you need to propose to me, then we are definitely not aligned. Maybe some men it works for. I rarely see it work. Especially in those examples. We got way back in the day Jim Jones with his fiance of the time, and some other examples that we see play out on TV. But I've never heard that ever be the case where people have had a successful marriage where the woman has been the one that has proposed. It's doesn't make sense, but.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either. I'll be honest with you. I could not I could not do it. And I agree with Onu that the people that's in the chat, I don't think that they could either. But I want to go back to a question, of this competition. Do you think? Let me ask Eric. Do you think that a woman? Let me change it up. If a man is very established in his career and is making good money, it is harder for him to find a genuine woman that wants him for him. Do you think it's harder for a man than a woman?
So you're saying man versus a woman?
Is it harder for a man to find a woman that is interested in being with him, that for him to date, to find and marry a woman that has good intentions? If he is established in his career, he's making good money. Uh, yeah. Do
Yeah,
you
I
think it's
think.
harder?
No, I think I don't think if he's established in his career, he's making good money. He has good values about himself. I don't think he'd have a hard time finding a woman. I'm pretty sure there are women would want to be in his presence, but I think that when you say if it's the woman that he want and a woman that he can trust on that type of level that you're saying, if you're saying making good money, as you say, or of a higher value, I think it's just a different way of thinking. It's more of he can really trust her because he already established now. He's
Right.
already, it's not someone he has grown with. From his high school sweetheart, or he met her in his mid-20s and decided to develop and grow. They built this amazing business together. He's already established, so I don't think he don't have a hard time finding a woman. I think he may have a harder time with if he does pick a woman, um, trusting the woman, that she's there for the right reasons. Because at the end of the day, once he grow and build with her, he want to make sure that she's with him for the right reasons. And so some men, if they're at that level or they're doing very well for themselves, they typically, at the beginning or the first part of it, don't really talk about a lot of what they do. They may, express, a description of their job or entrepreneurs, ship or whatever they do, but they're not going to really get into the money piece or whatever because it's more important to them to grow with her, learn her. Again, make sure she's there for the right reasons, and really try to build an authentic relationship with her. So, just to answer your question, no, I definitely don't think it's hard for him to find, a woman. I just think when it comes to trust and being able to build with her and open up to her, it's harder for a man that's already at a certain level.
Bronsberg, do you think it's hard for men to trust a good woman or trust that a woman is a good person when dating and building on a relationship?
By today's climate, I'm starting to see a lot of complaints from men in general that finding a good woman is like becoming obsolete. To answer the question, I just see it. I just see it a lot because they view that a lot of different factors. A lot of the brothers touched on the fact of the matter they're more geared to their career more than ever. Um, Other factors such as the thought culture in which they believe women are just becoming too sexualized. Also, the liberation idea that they can do whatever they want and a man can't tell them what to do. I'm not under your rulership. You can't tell me nothing. Um, and a couple of other factors that come into it that probably does ruin it for the chances of actual wholesome good women. And even if you understand the environment and nature of certain women in this society, a lot of them call the women that want to hear from the men and deal with the men and say I want to be picked by a man, a term called a pick me, in which that denotes the fact of the matter that the woman wants to be a slave under a man, which is not the case at all. So, understanding the climate of today, I think men are just kind of just being reclusive because of what's happening in society. A lot of movements that's taking place. Commonly, brothers always usually say feminism, and also talking about maybe like something like the Me Too culture. So they might feel like the dating aspect is like stepping on landmines, and they don't know if they're gonna get cut up if they deal with a certain woman. They feel more reserved. So that's just something that I see. Me personally, I still take the angle of I just have to see how the woman is, and then I'll make a judgment call. I'm not going to be applicable to thinking that women is out to get me. You know what I mean? Or you're dealing with women that's looking to come up on you because you make a certain amount of money, and they might want to play the sugar bear aspect. You know what I'm saying? And might want to be like, I'm only with this man because I want to get something out of him. So those are things that I see to answer that question.
Okay, so I want to go to Onu. Onu, okay, so after you finish your residency and you become and you are already Dr. Amadi, you're Dr. Amadi to me, but and to all of your your friends out there. But do you think that when, as you said, as Bronsberg said, you have that time to yourself and you're a doctor and everything, that is going to be hard? It's going to be like stepping on landmines. It's,
I think it's hard now.
okay.
And again, I guess this is one of the things I've been working through in like therapy is like being honest, like full transparency. So again, like I don't know how many people like me for me or for what I do. And to me it's like it's kind of hard to figure it's kind of hard to figure out just at face value. You need time in order to figure those things out. It'll be one if I had a crystal ball, I'm like, okay, is this situation going to work or not work? I can move proceedingly with that. Of course, I would sign up for that all the time, but you just don't know until you learn somebody. However, it's just like I always have that precaution, like, okay, like what if this person is using me for what I can do or my resources versus just in it just for me. So I guess it's a saying I'm seeing that on both sides of on both sides of the genders in my circles, and exactly what do you do when you talk to someone who isn't in your field or isn't making the type of money or doesn't have the same career path. How's that going to impact your decisions moving down the road? Is that something that you want to do? I kind of feel like when we're coming into dating, when talking to somebody, that's a conversation that you guys need to have initially. I have thought like you wait till the third, fourth date, but like we're having them on the first date now, or even though I mean even prior to the first date. Again, how does someone feel about certain things? So again, I'm seeing the pressure. I've seen that change the way I'm just looking at dating and the same and what I'm looking for in a partner as well.
Okay, so you just touched on something. I want to ask all of the gentlemen. So, what are the qualifying questions you ask someone when you're dating them? Do you think the first date is just get to know you date, and you got to wait till the second date? And what are those questions you ask that first dinner date? Do you? Start with Sean.
So I think by the time, and I've been out of the dating scene for, 5 years. just newly into the environment. But back when I was dating, um, it was a series of conversations before we even got to the first date, right? Because I'm not taking you out on a first date if we haven't had some conversation and dialogue where I know that it's going to be worth it for me to spend some time with you on a deeper level in a date environment. So some of that stuff would have been fleshed out in normal conversations, in the getting to know phase. I don't think and this is just me and how I operate. I don't necessarily have like a fire list or a checklist of questions that I'm going to ask. It's things that come up in conversations. So, we may discuss what you're looking for. We'll definitely have that'll be something that we would discuss, right? Like what are you looking for? We may then touch on last relationship. Those are some of the things that I've discussed in the past. A new one that I've learned now, especially coming out of a marriage, is what are some things that you learned from your last relationship? Because that for me is very telling, and of course I'll be able to share the same. And that for me is a big, huge question that I would want to hear, whether it was what you learned from your last relationship or what in general have you learned from your relationships or dating. What are some things that you're working on? Those are a couple of things that are in my mind, especially if we're, going down a path of seriousness, because I want to be able to hear that your wheels are turning. You're someone that is introspective. It's not playing the blame game where, we hear the narrative, all men are trash out here. Like it's got to be beyond that. Yeah, you might have bumped up against some guys that were not the best in your relationships, but what did you take away? What are the things that you currently are working on? Because clearly you can't control what another human being does, but you can definitely control you. And if you were in a situation that was not productive, I would hope that you'd be able to see what are the things that you took away that perhaps landed you in that situation, or what red flags did you ignored that allows you to stay in it longer than you needed to, because that's probably wherein lies the lesson, right? It's not so much about that woman that I was last with that was trash, or the problems that were with her, but it was, what did I learn? What are my takeaways? What am I working on so that I don't repeat that same cycle? Because that for me is very important. I know the next woman that I'm in a relationship with, we got to be about forward thinking, self improvement. And if it's all about men ain't nothing and the women are out here holding down the men, that narrative for me is tired, and I'm just gonna quickly move on.
I totally agree with you about if a guy says to me, "Oh, all women are crazy," or something like that, I'm like, okay, what did you do? So Eric, do you have a couple of qualifying questions? Even I do agree with Sean that sometimes it's not even a first date. Let me ask these qualifying questions on the phone. For what do you have, like a list of, or your top five qualifying questions to say, is this somebody that I want to see go further? Eric,
I think, yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say I had like bust out a list and go through these five questions, the evaluator, and say, hey, this is going to work or not going to work. I think though what he stated before, which is very good, is having that conversation, over the phone and building that relationship with her before you even have the opportunity to really, go on a first date. You know what I mean? Because once you start going on dates, it's time, resources, and that his money. Typically the man is going to pay for the, whatever restaurant and stuff that you're going to. So once he start putting down money and his resources and stuff like that, when it comes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dates or whatever it is, it typically starts getting more serious. So when you talk about qualifying questions, not necessarily qualifying questions, but understanding the intent of where you both are going. So let's say you have the conversation, he agrees with you, y'all go on your first date, and I think this is what you're trying to get to. Y'all get on the first date, and then as y'all going and y'all eating, what are some of the questions you ask? I think just understanding, as y'all eating and talking, the intent. Like, what is his goal? And vice versa. What is her goal? Like, are you dating with a purpose? Like, this is called dating with intent. Are you dating with intent? Are you dating with a purpose? How does it look? because some women have experiences. I'm gonna say it anyways, but yeah, some women have experience where they're going on a date or whatever, and then a month in or so forth, they don't really know where they stand. They don't know if it's a relationship, a situationship, if it's whatever. I think understanding when you're on the first, second, I use example first and second date, understanding the intent, understanding his intent with you. Like you're not saying we're gonna get married tomorrow, but is your mindset is marriage, or is your mindset just dating, or is your mindset just a boyfriend girlfriend? Just asking those probing questions and having those type of conversations. So his intent. Hey, if he says I'm not a marriage minded person, then if you are, then after that date, if you want to have the conversation during the date at the end of the date, that's fine. But then after that may be not a good fit for you. And I think some people, you know, um, may not understand that or may not ask those questions and find themselves in limbo because it's like you going month one, month two, and you don't even know where you stand with this man. So find out his intent with you. Hey, I'm not saying I'm going to marry you tomorrow, but hey, I am interested in dating. And if this works out, again, if this works out for me and you, my intent is to eventually get married. So he had to, understand that he's marriage minded if that's what you are. I think another thing is understanding. I think he said something before about you know previous relationships and going into a new relationship. I think a probing question, not that the person had to have therapy, but have they thought about therapy? If that's something they're interested in. Because I know you mentioned something about growth and progression and stuff like that. But asking the person, is that something that they have done before in the past, and that just a probing question just to get an understanding of where their mindset. And they may say, "No, I don't think I need therapy. I'm all good." And that give you an idea of kind of how they think as well. You know, and then also I just think understanding their values. Really figuring out their values. I know most women say, "Oh, they want a man with family oriented and all that stuff and so forth," and that's great. So I think asking those type of questions: what is his values? Is is good with his parents? Is all that good stuff. So just understand his values and what he wants in life and his walk in life. You got to understand and ask those important questions to understand if you're able to fit in. And I think another question is, and it's going to tie into this one, is understanding each other's roles and the roles you play in the relationship, because that can be confusing. If you're Afro or you are independent woman, as you say, or self-sufficient woman, you may overlap in your belief, your thinking, and what he believes how a relationship should look like or what it feels like, and how you should effectively communicate. So just kind of get a balance of who she is, understand that she get the balance of who he is, and understanding his values, so you both can understand and see if y'all can be compatible. And another thing, just when it comes to effective communication, how you both communicate, what's your love language, how what makes him tick, what makes you tick, and just asking those type of open questions to get to the result that you want to. So if you're both interested in dating and after dating getting married, you want both on the right step, then you go to the next date. And if these other things align with what you want and other things align with what he wants, then you continue to go and progress and go from there. But I don't think there's one, two, or five sets of questions. But I think there are certain questions when you're dating with intention or dating to be married that you should ask on the first and second date. So when a month passes, you're not in a situation.
So, Bronsberg, when after you spend some time to yourself, thank you so much, Eric, because you're right. It does not going to take the first maybe one or two phone calls, but it may take a while. But do we want to be waiting for a long time? So, Bronsberg, like you said, I want to spend time with myself and I want to and that's okay. But a lot of women nowadays, like Onu said, are approaching men. What do you think about that? Just the approach. What do you think about that? Approaching men, and if a woman is asking you out, would you be okay with that?
I'm sorry, I had this thought in my head. Low key, I like it. I know this is controversial. Low key, I like it. It depends though. I don't need that rough approach like "What's good, Mister" or something like that. Like, nah. Living in New York, like certain women have that whole entire like they approach you on some type of like you a dude type, like you the girl type, and I'm like, nah. Like I have a full on beard. I exhibit what a man is. So I don't want you approaching me like you're the man and I'm the woman, right? The thing about it is that women technically do, in a way, approach men, right? And this is why I'm going to say why. Now, let's say for instance, it's a public gathering, right, or it's a certain place and stuff like that. Women usually lead by a certain signal. This is the thing that women usually eye or might, usually they say it with their eyes, like it's a green light if you want to come and talk to me. So my thing about it is, even with that, yes, most of the time I'm usually shy. I'll admit that. But if I really feel compelled to, if I warm up in the event, I will approach that woman and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And stuff like that. But if a woman is honestly is like, I couldn't help but, I find you handsome, I find you attractive, or want to just gather on a conversation, I'm cool with that. Like I have no problem with that. I don't even think there's a crazy masculine a wavelength to that. You know what I mean? I just think like you see a man you like, and you'd be like, I'm sorry, I really think you're handsome, or this, that, and the third. I was like, okay, cool. I think you pretty. I think you sexy or attractive, and we go off of that conversation.
Oh no. First, I want to go back to the first question. What are your qualifying questions? Be it on the phone or on the first, let's say, dates. Do you have any qualifying questions?
I do. I do. I think online dating kind of has changed and modified everything. But typically, I have like a date one, date two, date three process when it comes to dating. Like the first date, like pretty much, I'm very simple. All I care about is, can they speak English? Can they answer in complete sentences? Are they on time? And are they presentable? Do they resemble what if I met them online, do they resemble online? If I met them, if I saw them at work and passed them by, do they resemble the same person, or are they better, or are they resemble the same person that I first met? That's pretty much it. Now, I'm going to answer whatever questions you may have, because again, to me, when it comes to dating, I'm not in a rush. I feel like it's in God's time, it's God's hands. We're going to get to the destination when we get to the destination. So I think a lot of women go on the first date as a job interview with interrogation. And to me, I'm just like, okay, I'm just trying to enjoy your presence. The bills are already paid for, the date's already paid for. So again, like honestly, are you gonna get a second date? Yes or no? You can mess this up yourself by asking more, by doing way too much. But I don't have any expectations besides that. Now, when it gets to the second date, I'm more like, okay, now if I know they can speak English, answer questions, now we can get into the bigger, deeper questions, ask about their past relationships, how they feel about dating, what they're looking for, how they respond to violent situations, history of domestic violence, family home. You want to talk about religion, politics, current events. Again, you want to see if they can actually hold a conversation and what the thought process is. And like honestly, there's like four major questions I'm typically looking for. And the first question is like education or successfulness. Second question comes to finances and money, how they do with that. Third question is lifestyle and happiness, and the fourth question is family. Typically, especially online dating, I can answer those four questions probably by the end of the first date. But typically, at the second date is when I'm like, okay, let me handle most stuff down. If we get to a third date, then that's where I'm like, okay, like where do you think things are progressing to? What type of relationship? If they're looking for a relationship, are you looking to exclusive date? Are you looking just to date around? Again, what are their thought process in the next month, the next 3 months, next year? Because to me, it's like again, like if you're just dating just to date, that's fine. If you're dating with intention, that should be made known at the third date. If you're like, okay, like my intention is to get married, if my intention is like, you know what, I'm still in school trying to finish it again. Hopefully, at the third day, you kind of figure and hammer those things home. However, going back to what I said again in the beginning, it's like women are rushing prior to the first date trying to answer all these questions. And to me, I kind of feel like, hey, take your time. You're going to get to the destination when you get to the destination. If you're trying to get to the destination as fast as possible, that's where steps arise. And again, what I'm seeing is more than likely not, women are shooting themselves in the foot left and right. And you're giving me a reason, like, you know what? There's no reason to go on date number two or date number three. We're showing me everything I need to know at date number one. You're asking all the questions I need to all the questions or show me exactly, hey, I know why I shouldn't date that person. So again, like when I do a Monday morning quarterback, or if I'm talking to my friend like about the first date, and he hears me with the like like he already knows based off my first impressions what I think. Now, if I'm into the person as a great first date, he's gonna get the full blown report. And it's like, he's interesting. I can see his energy. I can see the change. If I'm defending my nights, like what, it could have been better. Like this is what happened. Like he already knows. I mean, me and my best friend Leslie, we've been at this for how long? Over since 17. It's like we've been at this for over almost 2 decades. So I'm like, he knows when this is a great date, this is a good date, this is a bad date. Like you're looking to get out of here as fast as coming. He can determine based on my report exactly, am I going to go out this person second time, third time? Is it something I'm feeling? Is it something I'm like, I think there's connection, kind of get to know somebody more, and etc. And to me, I mean, that's to me what I look at dating. Now, with online dating, again, it's muddling that. People are rushing a lot for it. I'm trying not to rush as much, but at the same time, I'm getting a lot of ammo on why I shouldn't date somebody on the second or third date based on the first date, within the first date, because they're answering all the questions or show me exactly why I don't need to be around them.
I love that, Onu. One, I'm wondering how many women have approached you that don't speak English. So,
okay. I mean, a lot. When you say English, I mean, can articulate a sentence and articulate thought. To me,
got
it's
you.
like, okay, like again, we all can't speak in vernacular outside the hospital, but at the same time, like what, hopefully you can speak an actual sentence. Every once in a while, people texting these days hard. Some people can't text complete sentences, right? But somehow write emails, paragraphs, essays, like I don't. So I'm like, what? Hey, let's just see what happens at 8 p.m.
Totally agree with you. Like if they're just going to be speaking broken English or doing this text talking, I got you. So do women need to have a master's degree, Onu?
Do they need to have a master's degree?
Right.
What do you? I don't think it needs a master's degree. I think my situation is. I think every situation is different. To me, I look at success. Not the master's success is as successful. My thing is like, what is your purpose in life, and what do you want to do for that? Some people like, what? Hey, that might mean becoming a doctor. That might mean, what? I'm gonna be an elementary school teacher. I'm gonna be a principal. I want to be a high school principal. Exactly what steps are you doing to attain that goal? Now, if you're making the process of attaining that goal, to me, like, I mean, that's the whole thing. I think that matters. It's not about how much money you make. Society determines how much money you make for your professions. My question is like from 9 to 5, are you doing what you're passionate about? Yes or no? Or do you have to wait till after 5 to do that? Some people have to work to pay the bills, and they have to wait. They work the job. They work 9, 10, 11 hours just so they can go home to work 4 or 5 hours doing exactly what they want to do. And again, what are you passionate about? They might not be passionate about their job, might be passionate about something else. And to me, hey, you should be passionate about what you want to do. To me, like, hey, I'm grateful I get to help lives, help other people with problems on a day-to-day basis. To me, I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I wouldn't want to be with someone who isn't passionate about what they want to do or not making strides to do so. I don't think that's an education thing. To me, I think that's a mindset thing. And what do you need to order to do to get to that goal? Because I'm in the process of doing that, or you can say I've done that. And if you're not doing that, then again, if we're going to have children, what are you going to teach the children? Because again, to me, those 4 things is a table. All those 4 legs kind of matter. If one of those legs one of those legs are a little shorter than the other, the table's not going to stand up. And to me, it's like you can't say you want to have a family and you're not passionate about what you want to do, because I think that's going to breathe into the children.
That was a great point. That was a great point. I have nothing to say on that point, because you're right. If somebody doesn't know what they want or who they are or what they're passionate about, then they bring children into the world, what are you going to teach your children? How are you going to talk to the children about their lives, about their future? So that's actually very true. I actually want Sean's opinion on this because, does he have qualifying questions now that he's in a different stage than the other gentleman? Do you have those qualifying questions? And as you said, and do you approach women nowadays? Things have turned.
So I think those would be my qualifying questions, the ones that I mentioned, like,
Yeah.
in reference to your last relationship, what did you learn? That would be a key one that I've asked. Also, what are some things that you are working on? And then we'll take the conversation and have an equal exchange of ideas from there. So that would be that.
Are you approaching women nowadays?
Yes, but with I'm not at an intention stage. It's an exploratory stage for me.
Okay, I will leave the exploratory stage right there for a second. Okay, so what are your deal breakers, gentlemen? Because Bronzebird, what are your deal breakers? I know that we talked a lot about the over sexualization of women and the different things, and I think like you said, that's happening nowadays. I actually think that that's been going on for years. We talked a lot about different things, but what are your deal breakers? If you meet somebody and you don't mind a woman approaching you, but then you start to date her and you're like, oh nope, that's a no. Like, give me 3 deal breakers.
Hmm. Let's see. Well, obviously, I'm a very lax guy. You know what I mean? I just want to put that out in the open. But of course, I don't need a woman who exhibits those. Uh, how do I say it? Those type of traits where it's just kind of like unbearable to a point, like overbearing women. If you understand what I mean, like women that give off that type of trait, like we're jealousy, like over jealousy. You know what I mean? Need a reason to sit up there and say, oh well, I need your phone, or I need this and I need that. You know what I
Okay,
mean? I don't
I
need
understand.
that. You know what I mean? Just be chill and lax. Second of all, a woman who's not open to my world about things that I like to do, things that I offer, and all these different things, because I would do the same thing for you. So if you don't want to do that and be open minded, definitely a deal breaker. Third deal breaker, obviously, the third deal breaker, there's probably a little bit more, but just my third off the top of my head. Um, I would say, hmm, I would have said clingy, but that's not really my top list. But I'm trying to think of the third one. It's crazy. Um, I'll just say clingy for now. I don't need a woman who's clingy.
Clingy doesn't A woman that's clingy, she's the one that's going in your phone though, right? She's the one that's
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, let me leave that out. So I was trying to think of a third one because it was just in my head. But yeah, I think the overbearingness and the clinginess, over sexualization. I guess a little bit of that too, because I don't need a woman that's dressing, very provocatively, very very provocatively. That's my girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. I mean, it's not really a big deal, but then it's like, you're representing me and I'm representing you. So presentation is still a factor in this relationship. So I mean, that's off the top of my head.
okay. Eric, what are your deal breakers? Do you have 3 top deal breakers?
I would say, I would say probably number one is masculine energy. If she's giving off she's very controlling in the conversation. She's giving off very masculine energy. I think I would back off, and what it would turn me off not to be interested. Also, I think not being an active listener. I think from my experiences as well, just understanding that sometimes women will listen to you, but that doesn't mean they're actively listening to you. So sometimes their interpretation is different than what you said to them. So for me, I think a deal breaker is not being an active listener, because it's going to be very difficult for us to progress together, to grow together, to really effectively learn from each other. Because if you're saying something totally different than what I just said, it's going to cause confusion in the relationship. So, like I said, masculine energy, um, not being an active listener, and then I would say uh, being an effective communicator. Okay? Because when we're talking about masculinity, we're talking about independent women and all this good stuff earlier. She has to understand when she gets to know me how to communicate with me. And typically, if the woman is not an active listener, she's not going to know how to communicate with you. So I think being an effective communicator, understanding who he is, so you can be an effective communicator. For example, it's something simple. If he's saying certain things, like I mentioned before, certain things that he want, and you give him something different, not being an active listener. And I think effective communication is, maybe he's someone who kind of, let's say if he's a stickler when it comes to certain things, being able to communicate where you can bring him down. If he's kind of, upset about something or whatever the case may be, opposed to adding fuel to the fire. Um, and then also just being able to communicate effectively where y'all can effectively build together and not have this, competition type of feeling there because y'all not effectively communicating with each other and being on the same page. So I think if you don't have effective communication and not active listening, you eventually will not be on the same page. So those are my top three.
That's actually very interesting. It almost sounds like you're saying, like you said, if he's up, being able to bring him down, maybe being a source of peace for him. Is that what that means?
Yes, that's exactly what it means.
Sean, what about you? Did you may have already answered my question? What are your top? Do you have top three deal breakers?
I didn't answer the deal breaker part, but I think it was Eric that just shared the not listening part. Jumping to conclusions in conversations, and by that I mean like if there's something I said that you don't understand, you just jump to that conclusion without asking clarifying questions. For me, that's a non-starter for me. Um, I think also, you know, again, just the other part of not being self-aware. I think that is something that is very important for me. And I would say probably lastly, I've had a couple of relationships where the woman has done a significant amount of talking, and I'm a talker, so I like to, if anybody has seen me, on any other YouTube channel, I love a good conversation, but I need it to be just that conversation, right? I'm sharing, you're listening, vice versa. You're sharing, I'm listening. It's dialogue. But if you only speak in monologues and you're not checking in to, see if I'm listening, contributing, and you're just unloading, that's no good for me. I'm not gonna go further if early on in our dialogue that exists. So those are some things. Also I want a woman that has a relationship with God. That is important for me. Um, you know, and the things I listed not in that order, but those are some very important factors for me.
Yeah, that's very important for me as well, and yeah, that's huge that you have a relationship with God, and that's I have nothing to say for that one. Onu, did you give me your top three deal breakers?
I didn't give you your top three deal breakers. I'm not sure if I have just three, but I definitely chime with Ron Spurs, Sean, and Eric. I think agree with most of what they have, all of they have to say. I think one, religion. I think that definitely matters to me. It's very important to know if someone's spiritual versus religious. I think they're two different things, and even with religion, there's different types. There's different types of religion, how people approach that. But if I think I will have much difficulty if someone kind of deems themselves as spiritual versus religious, I kind of think that we might not have grounds to have a future relationship. So I think that's like one deal breakers there. Again, being able to articulate thought is another one. So again, my first date is like, can they speak English? Can they speak complete sentences? But in the second date, how vulnerable are them exactly? Why they're dating? Like to me, it's like what are they looking for from a partner? I should be able to get that information based on your experiences. Like, I don't have to ask direct questions. It's pretty much secondary questions or me implying thought to those. And to me, I think that's important. Again, I would say maybe sapiosexual, how they think of looking to certain things is how I would approach that situation. Can you are you able to think on a higher level or able to communicate just as a person? I don't need someone to be okay just because I'm a doctor. I don't need to date other doctors, but at the same time, can we have an articulate conversation, articulate thought together? And to me, that's more important. That's more important. I look for. And three, I think to rub in what Shanae has to say with aesthetics again. I hate when people show me pictures of how they're supposed to look like 3 years ago and they don't look nowhere like that today. And I kind of feel like, again, what are you right now versus what you are showing to me? And again, I think women, they with photos, angles, y'all do way too much. So sometimes, like, you know what, let me see you 8 o'clock Saturday night. Where are you going to bring your best? Where's that going to be? And then we can take it on from there. Is it better, not better? Like, what am I going to see? I don't want to have be in a Frankenstein situation. I've been in way too many of those. Again, I can fake it for a couple hours, but for 3-6 months, not gonna be able to do it.
First of all, I love that because that's our issue too. I don't want your high school picture, man. Like, you don't look like that no more. So,
So I mean that I did. So that was that was like one of my main pet peeves. I think one of my main pet peeves on my own that myself is like, I was posting old photos of me without a beard. I'm like, dude, I have a beard now. Like, why do I have photos without a beard? Like, what are they going to think? So I had to make sure, take all the way old photos, put new photos on, so like, so I understand.
right. Okay. So, last question. First of all, thank you, gentlemen, for sticking around with me, and thank you, everybody in the chat. I definitely think I'm going to be doing a part 2 and a 3. Bronze Bird with this sugar bear narrative. He thought I forgot about that. And so yeah, I want to have the men back for a couple of different panels because this has been outstanding. But I really want to go back to the women being just a little bit more the masculine. And somebody told me today, it's a friend of mine, and she's in medical research. She travels for her job. And it's something so interesting she said today. She said, I didn't realize a guy was flirting with me at the airport. She said, I'm so busy, or I didn't even realize until I got home. And so she said a lot of us were not raised on love or how to find love. We were raised on survival. She said, I know that my parents love me. I know all of those things. But as women, we were raised on survival. And I said, gosh, that's kind of interesting. And, my mother, who I love very much, but, married and divorced, she's 3 times. Do you think that because our families were raised us to just survive and work hard, that when love does come or a potential does come, that we may not even see it? I'm going to start with Eric.
All righty. You can hear me, Crystal?
I hear you.
Wow, I think that's a good question. I think it may tie into that as you grow and develop. But I think more time when you become more mature, you become an adult, and it's about mindset. I believe it's more so about mindset. And when I say mindset, where you are at the moment, is it something that you're interested in? Like I said before, whether it's a man or woman, are the intentions married? Are the intentions just dating? And that also is going to tell you what your mindset is. So her mindset when it comes to relationships maybe wasn't in that space, if that makes sense. To give him the time, to give him the opportunity to communicate effectively and let him, say what he got to say. She able to be actively listening to him. Her mindset was probably just getting her job done, getting the work done, surviving, paying her bills. But at the end of the day, it's like you gotta ask yourself, what do you really want? You know? And when I say what do you really want, is her intent on having a husband? Is her intent eventually to be dating to get married? Because that could have been a past opportunity for her. And then now she look back and now she may never see this man again. You know, there's plenty of people who met at the airport or on a plane and married 3 months or 4 months or 6 months later because the intent and the mindset was there that hey, I eventually want to be married, and that goes back to what you tied into with being an independent woman. You know, some that are independent may not have that mindset or be thinking on that level. They're just chasing their career, they're chasing their goals, they're trying to move up the corporate ladder, different things that they're trying to do. That's okay. You know, be a boss woman and do the things that you want to do, but have the understanding and mindset of where you want to be. Because if you don't, and you don't do it sooner, opportunities like hers is gonna pass up multiple times. You know, and then you don't want to end up being in a position where, dang, I miss out on all these opportunities, and then now as time progresses, like now this is what I want to do when you could have done it a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So I think sitting down, whether some people is going through therapy or somebody just meditating, somebody who, if you believe in God, pray to God, or whatever the case may be, figuring out now where you want to be in the future when it comes to relationships. Because we talk about dating with intent, we talk about dating with a purpose. You're talking about your friend as a female, knowing if that's what she want to do. Now, if she don't, granted, that's fine. She go chase her career, go do this. But at the end of the day, she may not end up with a husband 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and now. She just may want to chase her career. But if her intent 3 years, 4 years in the future is to be married or be have someone with the pursuit of marriage, then you have to change your mindset. Because once you change your mindset, she would have made herself available. You make yourself available. You know, whether it's going to events, whether it's going out to different, places or opportunities where people can see you, people can meet you, people can have a conversation. If your mindset ain't there, you only working on focus on working. So you may be in the house more, you may not have the opportunity to go out. So just a lot of things that tie into that. But like I said, overall, just having a mindset to really build and get to the life that you want to have. And if you want to have a successful marriage, you have to put yourself out there to other people can introduce themselves so you can eventually get on that path. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Eric. Bronzebird, I'm going to change it up a little bit. Do you, as a man, believe that you were raised to survive, or just to survive, or do you think that you were raised to learn how to love when you were raised, and how to relate to a female? Do you think that that was part of it on how
Um,
to? Yeah.
let's see. I mean, my thing is like the concept was treat a woman right and be a gentleman and this, that, and the third. In terms of survival, that still was something that was talked about as well. Going out there and hustling, doing what you got to do to, make a income for yourself, be sufficient and stuff like that. But as terms as the dating aspect, survival, hmm, I mean, it's just the narrative that I usually would hear is you happy wife, happy life type of like mindset. And as I started to grow older, it's not that I was bitter or anything, but it was just like, no, what about my happiness too as a man? You know what I mean? Like we can say, you got to make the woman happy, you got to make the woman, you have to be there for the woman. Of course, you do those things as a man, especially if you're geared into marriage. But at the same time, my happiness matters too. If I, when it comes to love, like that has to be something that has to be taken into account. It can't always be about the woman 100%. It's not how the relationship should be. So I broke out of that whole entire path a while ago. Like, and it's no offense at all. I'm just saying, like, my whole entire thing is like, it's a partnership. So it's a give and take type of strategy with me. Like women, of course, the woman I'm dating, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm there for my woman, but I have to make sure she's there for me too. And my emotions is involved in that as well. That should be accounted for. So
Sean, do you believe that, when you were growing up, you were raised to learn how to love and treat a woman or a female? Or were you just learned to just survive and work hard?
Yeah, no, I would definitely remember conversations with my mother and my father in terms of how to treat women. You know, and marriage was always something that I wanted to do. I mean, I didn't have like an overly like I wasn't sitting around like envisioning my wedding day or anything, but it was something that I saw happening for sure, and still is something that I see as a path to growth, a path to creating generational wealth. So it's something that I think is very important in our community. I think the emphasis has gone away from it, and I think how in the past we found each other, be it during college, that focus isn't necessarily there. I know that a lot of relationships that are still thriving, some of my friends that are now married still, they found their spouses either in college or during their college time, and then those relationships flourished from there. And I don't think there's enough of that focus where we kind of let our kids know, hey, listen, when you get to college, and it's not like, oh, go to college and get married, but it's like this is the place where you meet people of like mind, and you are likely to find your future husband or wife there. I think we need to, as parents, should be having those conversations more with their kids to let them know that that's the best place to meet someone, because you're in that microcosm of people that are of like mind, and you're likely to find your spouse in that space.
I actually want to touch on something you just said because when I was in college, when I was going to college, my mother that well, I was taught that's where you go to get your education. So that is such a good point that you and this my same friend that I was speaking to today. She said, and she said that I think a lot of young white people, kids, went to college and found their spouse, and they thought this is where I find my mate, or this is where I find that transition to finding the husband or that long term relationship. And um, no, I don't think that that was the conversation I had with my parents. So that is exactly that is exactly the opposite. So that you're right. I do think that we need to be having more of those conversations with our kids or with kids going into the next stage of their lives. This is when you find out what you want to do. Like Onu said, do you know what your passion is? And some people may not know what their passion is. I know men that are 40 that don't know what their passion is. So, but at the same time, and they have umpteenth kids. So do you know what you want to do? So that is really that is very interesting that you said that. Um, I have so many more questions, but I just want to thank you guys so much. I think that we should do a part two, and we need to just talk about just this. I think dating 50-50, like paying this 50-50, and the fun questions. But for now, thank you, Sean. I'm going to start with you and then I'm going to go around. Uh, Give me a sign off. Let them know where they can find you. Everyone, please subscribe to Sean Unfiltered. Go ahead, Sean, you start.
Thanks, Crystal, and pleasure being here with you and amongst the other gentlemen on the panel. We were in great company tonight, and all the folks in the comments. I think these things are so important, and I think that there is very often a place in the middle that we need to find each other at. And for me, I think successful relationships are going to begin when we both can own accountability for the things that we need to change, and move away from the dialogue or the narratives that push blame and fault in one direction or the other. We need to talk, get understanding, and truly get to know each other, to have better relationships with each other, because I think at the end of the day, that's what we want. So that would be my last, my final piece. Again, my handle is on the bottom. Thank you, Crystal. Yes, please subscribe to my channel. There will be videos uploaded really soon, but I do have a landing and homepage for my upcoming YouTube channel. And, feel free to connect with me on Instagram, Sean Davis 120. And thanks again, Crystal, for having me today.
No problem. Go ahead, Anu.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Crystal. Definitely appreciate it. Definitely learned a lot from you guys, Sean, Eric, Bronsberg. I wish you know your name, but hey, Bronsberg it is. Don't have a YouTube channel yet, just yet. So we're still in the works, but I'm on Instagram. I put my screen name on if anyone wants to follow. Definitely send a message.
Y'all, Onu's a whole doctor out here, and is it general practitioner? What is it?
Okay, so right now I'm doing internal medicine. The
medicine.
goal is to go into hematology oncology. The goal is to do oncology in Washington D.C. area. So I would like to be academic medicine in oncology at like either Howard or Inova. So 2027. We'll see where
I know that Sean said his DMs are ajar, but Dr. Omadi, y'all, you're gonna have to go through Shanae. Y'all gonna have to go through us, but Onu is a real one. Eric, go ahead and give me a sign off. What would you like to say? You're on mute. You're on mute, Eric. Are you still on mute?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Gotcha. Uh-huh.
I appreciate you. Now, just thank you first, Crystal. Just for the opportunity, and wanted me bring me on the show and stuff. So I appreciate you. Also, with the brothers here on the panel, had a great discussion. Learned some stuff myself today. Took some notes. Only thing I have to say is I don't have any social media. But I was gonna say that through these discussions and things, that was said between brothers and to the people who are on the channel. Number one, I really appreciate, our black queens out here that, trying to do their thing, whether they're single mothers or, looking for a relationship, marriage, or whatever the case may be. I wanted to say that. And then also, when it comes to partnerships and things that we're looking for in a relationship or a marriage, just because there are a lot of things that were said on this panel. So we can build a great partnership. We can build great relationships that lead to great marriages that will lead to great legacies. So when I say legacies, our kids, because a lot of when it comes to African American community, a lot of us not married. So the more we get along, the more we understand, the more we can, understand these things that we're talking about and be effective communicators with each other. We can grow and we can get into strong relationships, which build strong marriages, which create strong families, and then that legacy from our kids can live on. So that was all I had to say. So I appreciate you, Crystal.
No problem. Y'all, Eric is an entrepreneur. He's not going to share his stuff right now, but this is the beginning. So y'all got to get. I'm gonna try to get y'all to really know Eric. Go ahead, Bronsberg. Shout out Bronsberg. Shout out your channel too. I took a deep dive into Bronsberg channel, and I was like, "Whoo! All right, I got to get in touch with him." Go ahead, Bronsberg.
Appreciate you first and foremost, Crystal. Thank you for having me up. All the brothers in the panel, thank you for dropping y'all gems tonight, because it's always great to connect with like-minded brothers. Yeah, I think this conversation is definitely needed. I definitely do think that there should be a part 2 or part 3. As terms as me, my name Bronsberg. You can find me on YouTube. I post videos every week. I lead a panel called the Brownstone Powwow. Usually Fridays. Certain times I'll lighten it up and put it on Thursdays. But usually I always try to come with topics. If not, it's a free panel. And this, that, and third. Anybody's welcome to join. But hopefully y'all subscribe to my channel and just look at the videos I produce, because I talk about a whole entire range of things. So hopefully we just have a more of these discussions, in the coming weeks or so, and I would love to just join. Thank you so much, and thanks to all the brothers that participated and everybody in the chat.
Y'all, thank you so much. This has been Candid Convo with Crystal. I will definitely be having a 2 and 3. Hopefully, when Sean gets his channel up, I know that is coming soon. So we can have these brothers on Sean's channel. Thank you guys so much and have a great night.